What touches you the most when you think about history? Is it the fate of 6 million Jews that perished at the hands of the Nazis? Or perhaps the story of the Nanking Massacre in 1937, Unit 731, or the killing fields in Cambodia? I'm now in the Croatian town of Sisak. And during the Second World War, the Ustaše, the Croatian ultranationalists, they run a concentration camp here. A concentration camp for children. This here is the tragic story of the children's concentration camp of Sisak. Keep watching. The Sisak concentration camp was located in the independent state of Croatia, the NDH. This state was proclaimed on the 10th of April 1941 during the Axis invasion of Yugoslavia. When the Germans marched into the Croatian capital Zagreb, the state was proclaimed and the independence declaration was stage managed by the Germans. Also, the Italians and the Hungarians assisted in the German invasion of the country. The NDH consisted of 40% of the territory of the bygone Yugoslav kingdom that was toppled within 12 days. The independent state of Croatia was officially led by Ante Pavelić, who was the leader of the Ustasha, the Croatian revolutionary movement. The Ustasha, they were very Catholic and they were anti-Yugoslav, they were pro-peasant, and they wanted a large Croatian state. And there was no room for people they deemed undesirable. And three main groups were targeted. I'm talking about the Serbs, the Jews, and the Roma, also known as gypsies. The three main components of the Ustasha ideology were racism, religion, and violence. Soon, the Ustaše, they unleashed a reign of terror against the people they deemed undesirable. Many of them died in horrifying ways by Ustasha death squads that roamed the countryside. They went from village to village, town to town, slaughtering people in sadistic ways. Others were deported to concentration camps where they were brutally murdered. Most infamous was the Jasenovac complex. This was not a single site, but a complex of 5 camps. Now do notice that however many Croatians supported the resurrection of a Croatian state, they definitely did not approve of the brutal killings. During 1941 and 45, the Ustaše, they set up 22 different concentration camps within the territory of the NDH. Among these, Jasenovac was the largest, but two, Jasebasko and Sisak, a subcamp of Jasenovac, housed mainly Serbian Jewish and Roma children. The town of Sisak is located more than 48 kilometers, 30 miles southeast of Zagreb. There were 2 camps, Sisak 1 and Sisak 2. The first camp, Sisak 1, served as a transit camp for thousands of captured Serbs, Bosniaks and Roma who performed forced labor for the Reich. The second camp, Sisak 2, was reserved for those taken in German-Croatian cleansing operations who were deemed unfit for forced labor. It became a site of catastrophic conditions for Serbian women and children. Sisak 1 had 2 official but deceptive names: Transit Camp for Refugees and the Reception Center for Children and Refugees. The reality was much darker. The camp was established on the 3rd of August 1941 and had a joint administration, German and Croatian. Ustasha members served as guards and administrators, and the head of the camp, that was Dr. Antun Načer. Female Ustasha guards oversaw that children were not deported for forced labor. They were interned here. Sisak 1 was a transit camp. It was located in a defunct factory that was surrounded with barbed wire. In 1942, the area was expanded and 7 more barracks were constructed. The following year, it had the capacity for 5,000 prisoners. The Germans made sure that able-bodied men were deported to Semlin concentration camp near Belgrade. Others ended up in Auschwitz, Dachau and Mauthausen. Control over Sisak 1 was handed over to the NDH April 1945. The adult camp was closed in January 1945 and the remaining prisoners were sent to Jasenovac. Sisak 2 was the camp for children and scattered among several sites, a convent, a school and a saltwork building. None of these buildings were suitable for housing children infants and babies. Many had to lie on the ground with a thin layer of straw beneath them. Clothes and blankets were scarce. Malnutrition and dysentery were rife. The main building is now called the Crystal Cube of Cheerfulness. Whose children were sent to this place? Mostly Serbian, Jewish and Roma children that were orphans or had parents that were sent for forced labor to Germany. The youngest, below the age of 3, were held in a convent and in the saltwork industries where the children the ages of 4 and 5. The first group of 906 children arrived on August 3rd, 1942. The next day another 650 children came, while a third group of 1,272 arrived on August 6, 1942. During August and September 1942, Ustaše housed 3,971 children at Sisak whose parents had been selected for forced labor in Germany. From August 3rd, 1942 to February 8th, 1943, a total of 6,693 Serbs, Jewish and Roma children were imprisoned at Sisak, which became infected with a typhus epidemic, causing the deaths of between 1,160 and 1,500 children. Serbian Orthodox children were given lethal injection by the commander, who was a physician, Dr. Ante Pavelić. He was dubbed the Croatian Mengele. One survivor recalled, "Entering the concentration camp was the same thing as entering a death club ruled only by lawlessness and madness, where you could hear only screams, crying and moaning, all the way to the sky. One sight that still freezes the blood in my veins is running from the Ustashes, who were capturing little girls and then brutalizing them. That's when I accidentally stepped on a newborn lying on the ground. The cry it let out still rings in my ears." Upon inspection, the Croatian Red Cross found almost 1,000 children dead. Only about 200 of them could be identified. In some cases, children were released or foster parents were found. These children were then converted to Catholicism. Diana Budisavljevic, an Austrian humanitarian, led a major relief effort in Yugoslavia during World War II. They sent food parcels, but many did not arrive. Volunteers that had links with the communist underground rescued children, finding homes for them. Some 2,200 children were moved to Zagreb and 1,630 were given shelter in the surrounding villages. The children's camp at Sisak was closed on January 8, 1943, and the remaining inmates were sent to Zagreb. Another children's concentration camp was established at Jaskabasko, 37 kilometers southwest of Zagreb, where Serb children were deported to. It operated several months from July till October 1942. In total, 3,136 children aged between 1 and 14 entered the camp by August 14, 1942. It is estimated that 1,500 children died there, mainly due to malnutrition and disease. And also at Jaskabasko, children slept on the bare floor with just some straw here and there. Some were re-educated along the lines of the Ustaše in order to make them hate their parents and to hate the communist partisan forces. Over time, the conditions improved due to the effort of medical doctors and personnel. Less children died at Jaskabasko than in Sisak too, also because of the fact that most children there were older and therefore less vulnerable. At the end of August, the Yugoslav partisans managed to liberate 350 children. In some cases, communist partisan members found their brother or sister inside the camp. The Ustasha believed the camp could therefore no longer be maintained and it was dismantled. The Ustaše were not the only ones that had concentration camps for children. Also, the Nazis run one in German-occupied Poland, in Łódź. After the war, many parents who had performed forced labor in Germany returned to Yugoslavia and looked for their missing children. Now, I read that the communist Yugoslav Department for the Protection of the People, the OZNA, refused to release the camp records, and this made reunification between child and parent unnecessary hard. After the war, the camp commander Najer was captured and executed in 1946. Different monuments were erected here, but most of them were destroyed during the war in the 1990s. I hope you found this video interesting. It's a very tragic topic that I did want to cover. If you want to learn about Croatia during World War II, click here. I want to thank you for watching and best wishes from Sisak, Croatia.